Hi, welcome back to Lightworker Training. My name is Tatiana, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be back here with you today to talk about blocks to intuition. So whether you're new at developing your intuitive gifts or you've been at this for a while, my intention is to provide some kind of gem for you today, so that you can deepen in your appreciation and development of your intuitive gifts. So I want to talk about blocks to intuition and the really common things that I see come up in my practice and things that I notice in my personal life and my personal practice as well. But I see this with clients and students all the time. So I want to put this on your radar so that you can be aware that something that's coming up might be one of those blocks. And I also want to give you some ways of working with the energy to clear those blocks for yourself. Okay, so number one block to intuition, to your intuitive gifts and knowing and trusting your intuition. Number one is not understanding the true nature of reality. So if you don't know how this reality works, who you are, what your part in it is, the true nature of yourself, the true nature of your intuition, um, pretty tough, pretty tough to access. Anything empowering in your life. And intuition definitely is a superpower. Wouldn't it be fantastic to be able to apply that gift to any part of your life anytime? Yeah, sure. And but if you don't know, that you even have an intuition, that intuition is a real thing, that intuition is an innate gift that we all have. We all are intuitive. We are all way more psychic than we think we are. And the number two block is the reason why our programming. So the reason why we don't understand the true nature of this reality and our true nature and the true nature of our gifts and how the field of creation responds to us and how we communicate with parts of ourselves and parts of ourselves internally and externally, right? Because it's all one. So how are these parts communicating with themselves? Um, that's part of intuition, this communication, right? It's all about communication. And I talked about this in the language of intuition. So the reason why we don't understand the true nature of reality and intuition is because of our programming. What do I mean by that? So just the messages that we've received over and over and over and over again from teachers, from parents, from churches, from television, from movies, from media, advertisements, etc., etc., etc. So we have received these messages to the degree that it's become this kind of like brainwash. It's not even kind of like brainwashing, it is straight up brainwashing. It's straight up brainwashing designed, I believe, specifically to distance us from reality, to cut us off from our true nature, to make us oblivious or confused about the true nature of reality. So, what are some of these programs? Well, I'll give you a couple examples. There's so many, but here's a good one: materialism, a hyper focus on what can be perceived with the five senses. hyper focus on what can be perceived by a camera or an eyeball or a microscope, right? Just because something can't be seen with a physical device doesn't mean that that thing cannot be perceived. Doesn't mean that. And it doesn't mean that that thing's not real. And it doesn't mean that that thing isn't having some effect. That seems really obvious, but there's so much brainwashing around materialism. So materialism is a big one. Another big one, just this worship of external authority. um, Always looking to the external authority to tell you what's real. This is a program that we've all received. It's been told to us over and over and over again. And so the thing is, when you're a child, it makes sense that you would need a lot of external validation and hand-holding. Unfortunately, the way that that tends to go in the worldwide culture of materialism and suppression of our true natures, the way that tends to go is that anything that's not part of the cults of materialism and external authority, etc., is not a reality that is upheld or acknowledged, right? So if your parents are part of this, one of these or many of these cults, cult-like beliefs in, the worship of the material, the worship of external authority, hey, you know what? Ain't nothing wrong with getting some validation from an external authority or expert of some kind, okay? That's fine. Like if I want to know something about electric fencing, which I'm looking at right now for my chickens, then I'm going to look to an expert on electric fencing, okay? So this is this is this makes sense. This makes sense, right? It's like that person who's been doing electric fencing for 20 years, they're like my mommy in that situation, right? Because I am like a baby when it comes to electric fencing. I don't know shit about electric fencing. Now, if you gave me all the components, I could probably tune in to my intuition and figure out how to put it all together. But man, external assistance, authority, education, teaching is fantastic. I'm all for it, but I don't worship it, and I don't see it as being above me or better than me, or that I couldn't do that myself. So this is kind of where we start to get into the more culty aspects of it, is where we never come to that adulthood, So I'm a baby with electric fencing. I'm going to learn about electric fencing. Then I'm going to be an adult with electric fencing because I'm going to do my fencing. I'm going to learn, and then I'll be able to teach someone else. That's how it should be. But the way that we're programmed in this worship of external authority, we never come to our spiritual adulthood. We're always looking to the priest to tell us, the teacher, the judge, the police officer, the government official, the social media influencer, to be the arbiter of truth, to be the teacher, to be the parent. So this is a problem, because your intuition literally means your inner teacher. So if you don't ever embody the teacher part of yourself, the adult part of yourself, the spiritual adult self, then you're always going to be a little baby that needs, mommy or daddy to tell you what's up. Hey, like I said, if you are at a baby level, like I am with electric fencing, be real with yourself. You're at a baby level, okay? You got to take baby steps. Then you grow up and you be a big boy or big girl. But the system is designed to keep us in perpetual childhood. That's what it wants, because it wants to be the perpetual mommy and daddy. Okay? So this is a red flag. Anytime you're like looking to mommy or daddy to rescue you, that's a red flag that you're in a very immature state of mind. So there could be a lot of things going on with that. Trauma. Trauma could be going on with that. Okay, so that brings me to point number 3. Blocks to intuition could be trauma. So there, if there is a childlike part of self coming up, needing that external validation, needing that help, needing that hand holding and parental love and care and protection, there is one adult that can provide that, and that's you. And only you. So there's a lot of trauma at the core of some of this program stuff I'm talking about. So it's key to do the inner world process to connect with the inner children that might be experiencing some of the feelings or things that are coming up for healing. And I talk about this in part 2, the foundations of healing, and I talk about the significance of unresolved trauma, and I give an inner world process for working with the inner child. And I believe the inner critic as well, which is the toxic inner authority figure. Okay, so programming and trauma kind of go hand in hand. But you could have, trauma could also be the cause of some other things that maybe aren't specifically related to the more systemic programming. They might be more specific to your situation. They would still be some kind of social conditioning or programming, just more on a familial level or personal level versus a systemic society-wide level. Anyway, I don't want to get I go off on these tangents. I hope I'm staying focused enough for you guys. Okay. So if you haven't checked those out, go back and look at part 2, chapter 2, Foundations of Healing, where I talk about trauma. It's really important to understand that. So let me just get right on to block number 4. So far we've got 3. We've got not understanding the true nature of reality, our programming, and trauma. Number 4 is not trusting the information when you get it. This is a huge block to intuition. I see this, and I did this myself. And it's because we don't know, we don't speak the language of intuition. So intuition's talking to us, and it's like, we're like, oh, I don't know, like it's probably some, we just will write it off, explain it away, or, oh, it couldn't be that, and it's like, no, dude, that's your intuition talking to you. But you're not going to know that that it is if you don't speak the language, if you don't understand the true nature of intuition, true nature of yourself, how reality works. So even if you know that stuff, and you're doing it, and you're practicing, and you're getting an answer, and you go, nah, that can't be it. It's like, no, that's it. I just told you what it is. And you said, no, that can't be it. Yeah. I see people do this. I did this all the time when I was younger, like, pull a tarot card. Oh, you don't like it? Pull another one. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get to that when I get to like how to work with these things. Let's suffice it to say, number 4 is not trusting. So the reason why you don't trust yourself, well, you don't trust the information. There's a couple of reasons why. One is you don't like it, and you need to deal with deal with it. Grow up. You have to want to know. You have to really want to know. I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's another reason why we don't trust, and that's because of all the toxic authority figures that manifest, as I said, as the inner critic. So this happens all the time. I see this block and this pitfall all the time. We're on the track, we're doing it, we're like, yeah, we're actually doing the thing that we know we need to do. We're tuning in, we're getting our intuitive hits, and then the inner critic gets in there and goes, oh, that's not real. That's not what it is. Oh, you think you're intuitive now? Who do you think you are? That's all that programming. That's all that societal programming, and where it's imprinted in our own psyche and talking to us to try to keep us in that system of control. It's a protective mechanism that helps us survive the toxic systems of control. We internalize those toxic systems to keep ourselves in check when we're children, and we don't have any other strategy. Okay, so when this comes up, just know that right there is a childlike energy, and that kid needs your help, needs you to be the adult for once in your life. Needs you to be the adult and just step up and say, hey, I love you. You didn't do anything wrong. We're going to be okay. And hey, inner critic, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Because what harm could it do if I just trust that this tarot card might be right? See what happens. I do recommend starting with kind of low stakes things when you're taking your first baby steps in trusting your intuition, but not trusting. So I see this happen with people who actually have been doing this work for a while. It still happens sometimes, right? We don't trust. And we say, oh, I knew it, and I didn't trust it. So you know what? That moment, that's your learning experience, enjoy it. Okay, so not trusting the info when it comes. You're getting the info, but you're not trusting it. So you put up a block after the fact, right? Okay, last one I have for you today is right brain shutdown. Okay, and this goes a couple different ways. So it could be that your right brain is so shut down, you're just only in your left brain. So you don't have access to creativity, imagination, that open receptiveness. It's only analyzing data and data collection and analyzing, right? That's like, oh, I got to look it up. We're being trained to divorce ourselves, split. And I talk about the splitting a lot, but this is one of those times I'm going to talk about it again. so so right brain shutdown could be that the right brain just is offline and it's all left brain. Well, that's a problem because left brain isn't creative. So how are you going to come up with creative solutions when or new ways, new possibilities if you can't even imagine them? It's not going to happen. So isn't that so helpful? What a coincidence that that's so helpful for the system to have people in right brain shutdown. But hey, you can be in right brain shutdown even if you're right brained imbalanced. So the what I just talked about was having like a severe left brain imbalance where you don't even have access to your right brain. But guess what? The system's got you both ways. But guess what? There's a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth way, infinite ways. But whether you're only in your left brain or only in your right brain, they've got you. They've got you shut down because the right brain has to be connected to the left brain. So here's where we get problems with people with right brain imbalance. And they're creative, they're intuitive, they're in their imagination, but they're totally fucking delusional because they have no analysis and no discernment of the information, right? We have to have both. We have to have both. But the I feel like the folks who have the right brain, it's actually easier for them to get the left brain online than the other way around. Usually folks that are severely left brain imbalanced, they have a really hard time getting the right brain going. Until now, okay? I'm not going to put that curse on all you left brain people out there. You could do it. You know what? If you put your mind to it, you could do any of this stuff because this is how we are truly hardwired. We all have the capacity to engage our innate gifts and talents. We really do. Okay, so let's talk about some of the ways we work with these energies. So let me just tear that off so I can look at both of them here. Okay. I don't know if I need to look at the first list. I think I can just read off the second list. So here's some hacks and ways of maybe thinking about things or working the energy to help you deal with some of these very, very common blocks. Like even if you've been working on this stuff for a while, you probably will see some of these things come up from time to time. Okay, so first of all, you have to want to know. I said something about this earlier. You have to want to know. You have to want that knowledge more than comfort. You have to want that knowledge more than you want your delusional fantasy world. That's tough, okay? That might sound harsh, but let's be real. We've all had this. There are times when we're just like, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Hey, if that's you, be real with yourself, okay? It's fine. You don't want to know? That's where you're at right now. Maybe in that moment, you don't quite have the capacity because you're maxed out in some other way. Maybe you don't quite have the resources to process additional information. That's totally cool. Just be real that you don't want to know, okay? But if you're into this development of intuition, you're going to have to cultivate that capacity, resiliency, and the inner resources so that you can be a little badger going after this knowledge and really want it, really want to know, okay? And baby steps, always baby steps. Okay. Second, we have to do this. Delete the old programs, delete all the brainwashing, reprogram. You are the programmer of your reality. Check out the video Program or Be Programmed, where I talk about this. This is so key, you guys. It's really, I mean, when you understand the true nature of reality, you will know that you can program yourself and program this reality. And it's like, not even like what am I trying to say? It's a real thing. It has real effects in the real world. The spiritual world is also the real world, but I'm talking like material level shit, okay? If it didn't, nobody would be into The Secret. Remember The Secret, law of attraction? Nobody would be into that shit if you couldn't program reality. But you can. So you got to delete the old programs. You don't even have to know how. Knowing how is a block, okay? It's a block to getting shit done. Now, if it's an electric fence, I might do a little research because I don't want to shock the shit out of myself. But you don't have to spend a lot of time figuring out how to delete the old programs. You just have to, when it comes up, you go, nope, I'm deleting that program. The program that I don't have intuitive gifts, delete. It's really that simple. So when it comes up, you just delete it. You delete it, you command it out of existence. You visualize it blowing up. You do whatever you want with it. You can delete it however you want. It doesn't matter how. That's why how is a trap. You won't know how you did it until you experiment and try and fuck around and find out. Okay. So number one, you have to want to know. Number two, delete the old programs. Number three, you got to heal that old trauma. Okay. So check it out, do that inner world process. The things I talked about shutting down the inner critic, supporting the inner child, being compassionate with yourself, but also having boundaries with yourself. Boundaries aren't just for other people. Boundaries are for yourself too. You have to have inner boundaries, you have to have outer boundaries. Okay, so you got to heal that trauma, because if you don't, good luck deleting the old programs, and good luck wanting to know, really wanting to know, and good luck trusting your true self, because you doing the inner world work is going to get you closer to knowing your true self and knowing the difference between you as your empowered, spiritual adult self and the wounded inner child aspects of self. And knowing who you are as a soul, that you have this capacity to have all these multiple facets of your being, infinite facets of your infinite beingness. So once you start practicing these things, you'll start to build that trust, which is like a muscle, right? You're building that trust muscle. And you can always trust your true self. Can't trust your fake ass self. Might be trustworthy for a couple things. But you can trust your true self, and your true self is not your inner critic. It is not your inner child. It is not your oppressive programming. What it is, nobody knows. Really, though, I can't really say it in words. this is where poetry is very helpful. But you could trust your true self. So once you start sorting this out of like, who's the toxic inner critic, who's the child, who's the true adult self as a manifestation of your soul's consciousness, your spirit, you know, you'll see that that self is actually very trustworthy, and you'll get to know its voice, and you'll get to know when it's speaking to you and and what it's communicating. But it just takes practice. Like I said, in the language of intuition, it's like learning a foreign language. Although it's not foreign, it's actually a language that we were born speaking, and then we were trained to not speak it. So it's natural. You already know how to speak it, and it's just remembering. So the last thing is to really look at where you might have some of this right-left brain imbalance. And I just did an audio for Cosmic Fire about this, where I just, it came to me somehow, however these things come, and I did a process for what I call it, intuition overdrive or some shit like that. But it's all about getting the right and left hemispheres of the brain balanced. And I did it more for folks who are having a hard time connecting their receiving channel. So that might be you. It might be you if you're watching this video, if you've ever listened to the Cosmic Fire podcast, or if you've ever done any of my classes or done sessions with me, because most of the people I work with are very good at giving of their energy, but not very good at receiving and then connecting the receiving to their bodies, like receiving the intuition and bringing it through and connecting it into the body. So however this manifests for you, you could feel into it. If you tend to really overgive, you can look at pulling back some of that energy and cultivating a little bit more of that receiving energy. I see this all the time. There's a lot of suppression of the yin energy in our culture, and then there's all kinds of problems that occur because of that. And you see, like, so I'm probably going to get so much hate for this, but you see this in the feminism movement, how it started out as like women and men should have equal rights, right? And then it turned into this thing where women should be the same as men. And then this weird thing happened where and it's good for the system, right? The system needs more worker bees, so we need everyone out there working so we can steal their energy, steal their money. Is this video going to get flagged if I say that? But we see this all the time, right? Where the system actually wants us to be working, doing, all of this external yang energy. It wants everyone to be more masculine because it's a worker culture, it's a slave culture, it's a war culture, right? So it needs a lot of that yang energy being expressed, right? And so there's a serious deficiency of the yin energy. And I'm just saying yin and yang. I mean, it could be, some people talk about the divine masculine, divine feminine. It's the outward and inward, the giving, the receiving, however you want to think about it. This is how these are just basic things of nature. You have earth and water, you have air and fire. I should say air and fire over here on the right side, earth and water over here on the left side. So, you see this with the balance of the four elements. We need this balance within ourselves. So it's really important to look at where you're out of balance, because your intuition is really plugged into the yin, the feminine, the receptive, the air, sorry, the the water and the earth elements, the feelings, um, the spirit. So the spirit is actually a feminine energy, and the emotions are actually a feminine energy as well. So, okay, I don't want to get too into this. um, but okay. Okay, I just want to talk about this a little bit more, because you can feel this. So I invite you to tune in with me and just feel into where your auric field is at right now. And if you could see it or feel it side to side, what would that energy feel like? Is there more energy on one side than the other? What's the quality of energy? One side stronger, more vibrant, denser, one side softer, spongier. What does it look like? So most of the people that I talk to, most of the people I work with, they have lots of energy kind of bulging out to the right, the front, and the top. And very little on the left, the back, and the bottom of their energy field. So you got to be grounded. You got to have both hemispheres of the brain on board, both sides of the body on board. I want to talk about like the levels and the process of manifestation, because I think that's really important. And I don't know if I talked about it yet, but this is a really, really key part of it. Really key. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I think I did a video about the right brain, left brain split in chapter 3, part 3, which is mindset awareness. I don't want to get too off on this in case I've already talked about it before, but this is something I'm going to come back to again and again, and it's that that balance of the energy field, the balance of the energy going out, and the balance of the energy either being held or being received. So there tends to be a big block around receiving and holding energy and information and things like that. So a really good way that you can start balancing the right and left sides of the body and the right and left hemispheres of the brain is to just focus more on being, having, holding, and receiving than doing, giving, thinking, expressing. These are all good things, but these are all good things too. Let's see what happens when they come together. Right? So so think about that. Think about where you might have some of that imbalance in your life. Maybe it's manifesting in your relationships. We could actually talk about relationships in this chapter 4. Intuition. Yeah, let's get into it. So maybe I'll do a whole thing on that balance and that relationship with self and how that manifests externally next time on Lightworker Training. But hopefully I'll be back before too long, and I look forward to connecting with you then. Until then, please take really good care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.